So first things first, gentlemen, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
It's very good to hear. So before we get into the latest record, I'd like to go back to the beginning a little bit. Chris, do you know your first? Do you remember your first impression of Marlon?
Yeah. I remember Marlon. I'm trying to remember. I would get confused because I met them all at the same time,
Okay.
and so I'd sometimes kind of forget which one was which, which seems crazy now. But yeah, Marlon was. Well, he was really. He's a smart guy and a really nice guy because I was new to the group.
Thanks,
so
bro.
Marlon was. He was kind of the nicest out of them. He was the most welcoming out of all of them. Jai
Thanks,
was
bro.
the worst. I don't think Jai liked me very much at the start.
And Marlon, for you then, what did you think of Chris when he joined the band?
I first remember meeting Chris. Eli and I, we were at this bar and were looking for a bass player, and we did an interview with you
Yeah.
at the one on the
On the corner. It's changed names now.
And
In Dunedin.
in Dunedin, and we just we showed him the schedule and like asked him a bit about him and like what he did and stuff like that. And I just remember him being eccentric. I was like, whoa, this guy's like a left of field guy, you know, and like I've got those tendencies in me. When I was growing up, I was quite I was a bit of a bogan, and I had a few little things I dabbled into. It was kind of labelled as weird, so we kind of like resonated with that with him.
You felt like you were kind of kindred spirits in a way.
Yep.
Musically, how Chris, especially for you, how long did it take you to kind of adjust to what the band was doing?
A little, because I hadn't really played that kind of music before, really. I dabbled in some reggae, but and kind of hip hop stuff. But mainly I was playing punk and stuff. So, but I liked the band. I liked the music immediately. I thought it was really clever, really cool songs. And I think the main adjustment was like how we worked together. And I think it didn't take ages, probably took a month or so, right?
Because, well, you have made a couple albums, so was there kind of a way that the band operated, in a sense?
In the early days, not really. We kind of just wore our heart on our sleeves in a way. That's how we made music. We just, whatever kind of tickled our fancy and whatever we were into at the time, we put on record. And in a way, we've kept that. Like, the albums are representations of a time, of who we were at that time. And we've kept that, but we've just refined it a bit more. Yeah.
With that in mind then, because I don't know in what span the record was written, but I suppose the last 2 years or so. So what do you hear when you listen to the album now, after a little bit of separation? Can you kind of hear that moment in time of when it was written and what went through your minds at that point?
You've listened to it. Haven't you listened to it recently, the Gold album?
Oh, like the first album?
Oh,
Or you mean like
the latest one as well, but
The latest one.
Yeah, because it's funny. Like I actually went back and listened to our first album recently. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
what did you hear?
It was it's definitely 5 guys experimenting and just wanting to have no rules, I think.
Okay.
And sometimes that works out really well. Like you come up with some really cool stuff, and then sometimes you understand why there's a need for rules.
Yeah.
Because you have like a 8-minute song has like basically 3 songs in it, and you know, stuff you learn over time.
Sure.
So it was interesting, but it's interesting even hearing the progression as the albums go on, and yeah, this latest one, it's just, I think it's more refined. Like Marlon was saying, it's the songs are better and they're smarter and they're probably more economical in a way. You say that?
Yeah, and they still span our personalities because we're quite different individuals.
Okay.
Over the 5 of us, we've got a bit of a spectrum of from punk to right across to heavy metal to hip hop to R&B, soul to pop, and so we've kept that spread. But yeah, just taken all the fat out. Yeah.
With that in mind then, how is it difficult to get everybody on the same page when you're doing a song? Because everybody has such diverse influences and interests?
I think we're at a stage now where we've kind of gone one level deeper where it's that part of it's the surface level, but when we can kind of go deeper where it's like it's kind of links everyone together. There's like this, I don't know, this feeling that we go for now rather than a specific genre. We like try and tap into this feeling that we all share, and again, the new album's a representation of that.
Yeah, you know when it's a 660 song.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you get, these guys are over in LA writing and stuff, and sometimes songs will come back and you're like, it's a really cool song, but I don't know if it's really us or whatever, and you know, those things turn into other projects or whatever, but you kind of always know when you hear it, you're like, yeah, that's us. Even if it's kind of like the first track on the album is Never Enough. And it's kind of genre-wise or sonically, it's kind of different to some of the other tracks on the album, but it felt in me, I remember when I first listened to it, I was walking around in Auckland, headphones in and heard it, and I was like, yeah, this feels right. This, you know, it feels different to everything else in the album, but it felt right. It felt like a 660 song.
And it's something we search for. It's like this undeniability. It's like you don't second guess it, you don't doubt it. And sometimes that's really hard to find because it's like it comes up only now and then. You go, and you don't even have to discuss it. Everyone's like, yep, that's it.
So take me through kind of the way you write songs then, because I suppose it's different for every song. But for this latest record, how did you work? Was there one who kind of brought in the bones of a song and then you all jumped on it and kind of fleshed it out? Or how
this one was different. Every album's been different. So this time it was Machu and Marlon went over to LA and worked with a bunch of producers. So you can probably talk more about writing.
Yeah, we started off like that, and we kind of just the whole philosophy was just to be as present as possible in the process and let the music lead, rather than trying to overthink it and trying to dictate something before we start. And so a lot of the time we were trying to find people that would allow us to do that. And we went through a few producers, and we ended up with this guy Malay, who's Malay and Evan Bogart, which are the two producers on the album. And they were good because they allowed us to do that, to not kind of have something to work towards. It's more just, let's just focus on the feeling and let's just let the music write itself, which is, I guess it's hard for some people to grasp, but like in the moment it makes sense. And then after we've kind of got the bones of it, we, and everyone's opinion comes on and go, okay, how can we mold this and craft it to finish it and get rid of the fat and make a song. So that's for the most part, and that every song took a different route doing that. Some would come quickly, some would have a little bit of inspiration from something, some would get nowhere and then right at the end get somewhere. Okay. But that was the general process.
Well, I'm just going to pick out a couple songs here and there, but I want to start with kind of the I suppose the main single, The Greatest. Because to me, and I might be wrong in this, but it kind of thematically, I suppose, it's the foundation for the record, and at least that's how it sounds to me. So how did that song, was that one of the earlier ones, or did that one show up at the end?
Well, actually, we're talking about these two producers, Malay and Evan. So we started the process with Evan, and he brought in Malay at one point, first time meeting him, and that was the song we did, the first song we did with Malay. And that was really the door that opened to him and his process and the way he kind of approaches music and allows us to kind of put our ideas into a song. So that was that song. And yeah, it's funny you say that. It is kind of the middle of, like if there was a spectrum of the album, that would kind of be the middle, right?
Yeah, it's funny, I hadn't thought about it, but kind of is, yeah.
Because everything swings left or right of that.
Right.
Yeah.
When a song like that gets introduced, I don't know how the song came up, but do you collectively talk about kind of themes and then kind of what certain songs represent, or is that something that's kind of left to anybody?
Well, these guys, that one does have like kind of a someone's trying to come in. That one does have a story about how you actually. Why you wrote that song, right? Yeah,
when we were waiting for Malay to come into the studio, there was a photo on the wall, and it was the infamous photo of the Beatles and Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali's punching the Beatles, and it's the black and white photo, and we were just like, oh man, that's a cool photo. and then someone started saying, well, we should write a song about that photo. And then when we got into the studio, we mentioned it, and then that was like the little inspiration we need, the little spark.
Right.
And then we just let the song kind of make itself, and it kind of turned into, I guess it's a combination of those two worlds. We've got a triumphant song about trying to set a goal and trying to be great, and then the music, the sonic side of things is quite interesting, and we introduce like this pop mainly, but then we try to introduce just a little splash of like a chord that would throw you off. And I think for me, that's what the Beatles did. You think it's just a simple pop song, and then they'll throw something at it. Oh, okay, what's this? And that's basically how that song went.
And then we recreated that photo for the single artwork.
Okay.
So that was quite cool.
Yeah.
And then now, is this true that the song is taken up by the kind of the All Blacks as their kind of World Cup song, maybe? Or?
Kind of.
So that's why I'm asking, because I read kind of something like that.
I mean, the All Blacks are fans, and we're fans of them as well. Obviously, everyone in New Zealand watches rugby pretty much, and so I think they tend to gravitate that they listen to the album all the time and that kind of thing. I think that song in particular, kind of, with a message like that and a team like that, it's kind of a match made in heaven.
And is this this might be a little bit vague, but is this kind of the mentality you guys have in the band as well? Kind of that trying to keep positive, keep going, working hard, and is that kind of the general?
Yeah, it's definitely a big part of us. There's different parts of us as a band, as individuals, and that's definitely a big part of us. We do push ourselves, and we do want to be great, and we really want to, have no limits on what we do and get somewhere no one's been before. Yeah. And
especially because you're from New Zealand, and then I suppose you're somewhat limited in terms of touring that you can do there. So what is it like for bands like yourselves to look at the rest of the world? Are you kind of almost forced to go to other countries?
I think location does have a big effect on us. We're so isolated down like the South Pacific, and we always look out towards America and the UK and Europe and Asia like this. It's like for a New Zealander, one of the biggest goals is to leave New Zealand and go and do an overseas experience and go around the world and live there for a bit. So yeah, it definitely does affect the way we write music, because at the beginning we were trying to emulate and push for music that was popular in those regions, and this album actually we've kind of come full circle, and now we're just embracing who we are, embracing the sounds of New Zealand, embracing ourselves individually, and trying to put that on a modernize that, and with Malay and Evan to put it so it's digestible to the rest of the world. Yeah,
because one thing I think you did on this record is introduce kind of that traditional Maori sound, and I'm going to mispronounce this, but
I would too. Yeah.
The pututara, the pukai, and the bone, those kind of instruments. So you're saying coming full circle, so there's definitely a background for a couple of you with that culture, I suppose.
Yeah.
So what was it like to delve into that part of yourselves and incorporate that into the record?
It was kind of quite scary at first, because we had been running away from it for a couple of years.
Why?
It's just a natural thing that happens when you're looking out and trying to, the most popular music was not music from New Zealand, it was America, and we were pushing to want to fit in there, and so naturally you try and make music that fits in there, and but getting older and stuff, and learning about this industry, there is power and authenticity, and we kind of took that, and we took the sounds of New Zealand, and that using those sounds was another thing that happened. We translated one of our most popular songs, "Don't Forget Your Roots," into Te Reo Māori, and through that process we started that journey, and with a lady called Hene Wehe Mohe. She's a famous Māori woman who basically the reason why we do our national anthem bilingual is because of her, and she approached us, and we went and translated one of our songs into Māori, and through that she gave us access to these instruments, these samples, and basically we just sampled them,
Sure.
and some are obvious, but some are very subtle, but basically it goes through the whole album. Yeah.
And then so in the background, are you all now practicing these instruments? Or?
Actually,
Well, we've all had a go. Yeah, it's some of us are better at it than others.
yeah. Are you at the show tonight?
No, I can't be,
Damn.
unfortunately.
Well, we actually have incorporated it into the show.
Okay,
We start the show with one of the big, long wooden horns,
Mm.
and Much is pretty good at it now, and then he uses a shell too. This is like a big beach shell kind of thing. Plays that. Yeah.
Because, well, there's a couple songs, especially I suppose down the end, Sundown and Bitter End, where it's more prominent.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's quite obvious and nice. It really is all the way through
Sure.
the album. There's which is kind of cool. It kind of gives this I guess like an earthy, grounded feeling to it. So even when they're these kind of like out and out pop songs, it still feels primal in a sense, which is kind of great. I haven't heard anything like that before.
And it's like you say, again, where you have this pop structure, but you throw something in there to
Right.
throw it off a little bit,
Yeah.
just not to make it...
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's the experimental mind we have to just flavor it in a way that's us but unique. It's
Right.
that balance.
And then one of my favorites is Tomorrow,
Cool.
which has more of a reggae vibe to it. So and then As Does Raining. So those couple of songs, are they? Can I imagine then those are written very close together, and you're in some sunny vibe, or?
Weirdly, Tomorrow had a whole life.
Okay.
It was a completely different song. It, words and structure pretty much the same, but it was more kind of what was the sound of it? It was almost like kind of Motown-y almost.
Yeah, Rolling Stones.
Yeah, probably like when Rolling Stones kind of delved into that kind of R&B world.
Yeah.
It had that.
Right.
Which I really like. We still have that version. I'd like to release it as well.
Yeah.
Because the first time I heard the reggae one, I had no idea it was
The same
was
song.
getting worked on. I was like, oh, that song's done. And then it got sent, and I was like, it took me ages to get my head around it, like so long. The reggae thing's cool that it's come back in, because that was probably one of the things that we didn't do a lot of on the second album. Just to do something, to evolve, and so I think it's really cool. I'm quite proud of us for leading with some reggae songs on the album.
Yeah, that diversity, because well, you have some more straightforward pop songs, like say with some things thrown in, but then there's reggae, there's more soul R&B oriented songs. So is that important to the band to have that big spectrum of music?
Yeah, I think so. We've always had it.
It's funny though. I wouldn't say it's like important to us. Like, it's not something we go like, we've got to make sure it's very diverse.
Yeah.
It's just that we can't help ourselves. It's just who we are.
That comes out.
And I think that's become a bit of in my head, this idea that I think we've been wading our way through, and I think we're getting good at. I think we'll get better at it. Is allowing the song to be the song. So when the song comes out and it sounds like this, and that's how that song sounds, and you follow that to where it needs to go, rather than grabbing a song and be like, yeah, but we really want it to sound like this because we haven't got a reggae song. So I think allowing the song to be the song is quite key, and I think that's why it sounds diverse, because we're not scared of that.
And that attitude, is that, I can imagine it both ways. Is that liberating, or is that kind of, are you worried now with the release of the record? Is it more of a thing, well, I'm not sure how people might react?
Nah, you always get, every band that it evolves. So some bands kind of just do the same thing, or artists do the same
AC/DC is
thing.
the only one who did it well.
They just, they just keep going, But some bands are kind of evolutionary bands. And every single one of those gets the same comments like, oh, it was cooler when you were playing your old stuff,
Right.
or I like your old stuff better. But it's kind of like, you like that better because you know it more and you've attached it to a feeling.
Yeah.
And if you live with these songs, you'll love these as well. So we don't worry about it.
Yeah, and like I said before, it's like we're trying to look for a deeper feeling than that,
That's right.
which resonates with everyone, and that's what we try and focus on.
And then that comes through in the lyrics and the feeling of the song.
And the genre can be anything as long as it has that feeling.
Last thing then, I have to find the name. The Springs Stadium,
Western Springs.
Western Springs Stadium.
Yeah.
You've sold it out already. It's already sold out for next year.
Yes.
So, what does that tell you about what you're doing?
I guess a lot of people like the music that we put out.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. It's cool. It's one of those things that we've kind of gotten not used to, but like it doesn't seem as remarkable now because we did it once already.
Yeah.
But it is remarkable, and to do it twice is just stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're really proud. We're really proud, and because of we always want to get better, and we always want to do better. It just gives us something to set our sights towards, and like if we've done that, now that means we've got a new platform to jump off of. So we can. Who knows what the next thing we'll do is? That'll be bigger.
Because I suppose that's about as big as it can get in New Zealand, right?
A little bit more.
Well, so there's still
a ceiling.
Well, we haven't done 2 nights there yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, but I can imagine. Well, today you're in Amsterdam and you're playing Shoei. It's not going to be 50,000 people. So, are you trying to? Because I think the way you, as a band, started is cultivating your own audience and then kind of making that grow. So, is that part of what you're doing now to get that audience broader and then more attention to Europe, America, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we've kind of got the evidence that our music resonates with people in such a deep way and such a diverse way. So I guess it's just a matter of translating that. We could start again, but I think that everyone realizes that we're already really big and we're already successful at what we do, and so a lot of our team around the world are trying to just translate that and present us as an act that you've never heard about before that's doing well. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.